This is Hannibal here from thehannibaltv.com. Today, we just had our VD on. We're following that up with none other than WCW, TNA, ECW, WWE legend, none other than the Sandman, who was just featured in Dark Side of the Ring. How are you doing today, sir?
What up?
How's everything going with you these days?
Yeah, I didn't play golf too well today, and I didn't play golf too well Monday, so that just ruins my week right there. Seriously, dude, golf is like the world.
Oh, really? Is that your main sport that
Oh
you're
yeah,
doing these
well,
days?
yeah, it's good. Me and my kids play. We try and play golf once a week, and then every Sunday, well, not every Sunday, but 25 Sundays out of the year, we play doubleheader softball games together. We've won our softball league championship 2 out of the last 3 seasons. So, it's important to me that kids are my kids are my life. You know what I'm saying? It's like the friends come and go. The kids are around forever, and
Do
the
you ha-
grandkids is great.
Do you have any friends in wrestling that are really close to you more than other guys?
Oh yeah, there's Dreamer, Bubba, Striker, Sabu, and RVD.
Nice. Someone wants to know that your thoughts on your
Oh,
action figure.
Francine.
Oh, Francine too?
Because me and her get a lot of gigs together, well, she gets them for us like 5-6 times a year. Me and her are on the road during a weekend or something, and she's a great traveling partner.
Is she made up with Shane Douglas now for all the
Yeah,
heat
they're
that they had
fine.
at one point? Yeah, they're good now.
Yeah, dude, we're together with Shane a couple times a year. We're with Shane, and now there's no heat between them. So I don't even know we were talking about it, but it must be old.
Yeah. As far as your Dark Side of the Ring that came out, I guess it was earlier this year, what did you think of the whole way they portrayed you and everything in it?
Dude, I was fine with the portrayal because it's hard for them to portray me any other way than like the way I am. That's why I did it. You know what I mean? Bubba said, "Nah, you sure you want to do that hack?" And then Dreamer was like, "You sure?" Because you know how they screwed Dreamer in that episode to where they had him say something right after the girl said that Rick tried to put his cock in her hand and you know what I mean? Because they like to do hit pieces, you know what I'm saying? But you can't hit me because I'm telling you everything up front anyway.
Yeah, you're pretty open about it, but yeah, I know how they play with footage, and they probably interviewed you for a day, right? And
Uh,
they just use a clip.
oh yeah, what are you kidding me? Yes, a zillion questions, but I mean they honestly barely dipped their toe into my career. I mean, these kids weren't like super like knowledgeable, savvy wrestling kids. You know, I mean, these guys were young. I would say all three of them were under 25 years old. So there's 100 questions that they should ask me that they didn't. At least 100.
Now, you were tag team champions with Scorpio. I've wrestled him. I'm friends with him. What do you think about the latest trouble that he's sadly involved in, self-defending himself on that security job?
Well, a lot of people don't understand that the guy had just gotten kicked out of a casino for smoking like crack or something in the bathroom there. And then this scene happened because the casino was like less than 5 minutes from where the rest stop was, where Scorp was working. And the guy started with Scorp, and I've actually seen video of it, which I'm sure that some people in the court will never see that video because somebody else was videoing besides the cameras that were at the like truck stop. You know what I'm saying? But it is what it is, and I would have more to say if I was there, but even watching the video, it's just hard to say because you don't see the whole 100% of it. You know what I mean? And obviously, I'm going to back my friend right now. So.
Yeah, and he was also alone, and it was the middle of the night, so that can put you in a kind of frightened situation at some point.
Yeah, and he's the only security guard at that place. And the guy put his hands on Scorp, and the guy kept saying, literally, this is on camera. The guy kept saying, "Oh, I'm a cage fighter. I'm going to kick your ass." At least 10 times the guy said that. You know what I mean? And he put his hands on Scorp first, but we just saw some of the charges, and they carried like the largest charge carries 10 to 30.
Wow.
Aggravated assault in the first degree. I read the papers. He sent them to me.
Well, I wish him the best on that. He's obviously one of the tougher guys in wrestling. You're known as one of the tougher guys. Yeah.
No, Scorp was always way, way, way tougher than I was, dude. Scorp was a badass. When he came out of that dojo, when Vader, he tells a story about Vader took him underneath his wing, and then Vader brought him over to Japan, and he said, "Listen, kid, you're gonna live here. You're gonna live here until whenever you're good enough to not live here anymore." And he lived in a dojo for 2 years. And you probably know the shit. Like, can you imagine an American in a Japanese dojo and being a black guy, how much shit he had to eat for those 2 years? You know what I'm saying, dude? That had to harden his ass up. Besides the wrestling over there is like the training's like unbelievable. You might as well be in Stu Hart's gym for 24/7 for 2 years.
Do you have a favorite match with him as a tag team?
Yeah, probably the one with me, him, and the Public Enemy when we do the dance off.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, that was all off the cuff. That wasn't planned. You know, we had our match, but Teddy started it, and we just went along with it.
Speaking of dancing, what was the story where you went out to the ring naked one night? I think Raven has told that story.
I wasn't naked. It was in Pensacola, Florida. I don't know, maybe a couple months before the company folded, maybe 6-8 months or whatever. And he dared me to get naked. So I did. And then they took my clothes or something. I think I was jumping rope in the ring in Pensacola. And I didn't get fired for it. So that's pretty incredible.
Yeah, there's a fan on here asking, with wrestling being so PG these days, what do you think of the current products?
I don't know. I'm not so sure. Is what Dom and the blonde girl are doing, is that really PG? You know, I mean, maybe that's PG-13 to some people, but I don't necessarily know where the line is drawn between my kids 8, 9 years old. They watch the shows that I was watching on HBO and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So they're already accustomed to hearing the fuck words and the shit words and the bastard, and you know they're watching the Sopranos with me, like my oldest son Ty. You know what I mean? And my oldest daughter, like back in the day. So. But I mean, some people that live in Utah, whatever, that don't want their kids to be accustomed to that stuff. But I'm really not a good barometer to ask on that, because I think you smarten your kids up very, very early in life because they need it.
Yeah, it's better you smartening them up than the other kids.
This is the world, dude, and this is how it is. Get ready.
I saw a video of Nash talking about the match that he had with you in WCW. Do you have any recollection of that match? I think it was Hardcore Rules.
Well, yeah, because I wasn't high, because I wasn't drinking obviously before that match. I wasn't even doing blow or anything. Oh, probably Oxycontins. I was probably high on oxys then, but yeah, it was just an everyday normal match, and we had a good finish. The biggest thing that I remember about it is I go to lock up with this dude. He's already like, with his lifters on or whatever, he's already like 6'10", 6'11". We lock up and the dude gets on his toes. I'm like, seriously, Nash, you're on your toes. Look how much bigger you are than me. And this is like what I'm really saying this to him in the ring. And he goes, hey, I'm old school, hack. And I tell everybody that now. I'm like, dude, wrestling comes from your toes. If you are not in the ring on your toes, you're not doing something right.
Someone wants to know what was the best advice that Terry Funk told you?
Yeah, there was a zillion of them. Probably like one of the things when he invited me down for his Terry Funk had like 27 retirement matches, but the one in Amarillo, which was his hometown, which I was very honored to be to go down there for that show, because you're a handpicked person at that point, you know what I mean? And I said, Terry, let's take I said, Terry, you want to smoke a joint? He's like, yeah, come take the trash out with me. So I figure, this is hilarious. So we get in his truck. I figure, all right, we're going to go a couple 100 yards to the trash. Dude, it was like 10 minutes to take the trash out. We had to load up the truck. And then we were smoking on the way, and he's like, "Oh, please, Sam, don't tell anybody." And I'm like, "Whatever." And then I'm getting a little bit off the story here, but there was a cow that he noticed that was by the road, and it had this big goiter on the side of his neck. And dude, he's like reaching into his glove compartment and getting ready to go cut this goiter off the side of this cow's neck. And I'm like, Terry, seriously? I'm not in the mood to see this. He's like, yeah, all right, Sam. And then he just told me, he was like, dude, he goes, dude, people will love you. They're always going to love you because you love this business. If you don't love the business, you could tell the people that don't love the business.
Yeah.
You just somebody that's in it. It's very obvious.
I know you're not a bitter person, but does it hurt you at all when you see how much money they make now, and a lot of them don't have to pay any dues? They just are paid to train.
And I'm happy for them, and I'm happy for the business, and I'm glad that those people are getting paid. And dude, and there's another 1,000 guys before me that could be bitter. You know what I'm saying? But I'm happy as shit with my life, dude, and I can't waste it. And then there's not even any negative energy in my head towards those people. I'm like, great job, go get more because you deserve it.
Yeah, you're one of the most positive people I've met in wrestling. People get the wrong impression of you sometimes. Why do you think that is?
I don't know, because they think I'm drunk. You know what I mean? I'm drunk and I'm just there, but you guys don't understand. I lived this business for fucking 30 years. I mean, lived it, breathed, slept it. You know what I mean? When I was 5 years old, I wanted to be a professional wrestler. That's the only thing I wanted to be. No doctor, lawyer, policeman. I got to live my life stream, and I got to feed my family on it. And how many people actually get to live their life stream? 0.0001%. I got to live it, dude. I'm the happiest guy on the planet.
Someone wants to know your thoughts on Sunny.
Yeah, you make your own bed, you lay in it.
Was she all right to hang out with when she was in ECW?
No, I didn't really hang out with her because you got to understand it was different cliques. I'm rolling with Todd, Scorpio, and Fonzie, and she's rolling with the triple threat, you know, with Bigelow, Chris, and Shane. So we really didn't hang out a lot together. I mean, Todd, in the locker room, yeah, but outside the locker room, no.
Todd told us a story on here about you finding an 8-ball in a hotel room that you had the time before. Right. Do you have any stories about him you could share?
About Todd?
Yeah.
Oh, no, but yes and no, but really no. Because, I mean, we ain't got time for the real stories. You know what I mean? But the one you're talking about is we used to get rooms 1600, 1601, like, because you're on the, like, 1601, 1603, 1605, me, him, and Scorpio. And then one day you wouldn't, I didn't want to take the Coke with me because I was flying back to Utah. So I pulled up the rug in the corner of the room, and I stuck like an 8-ball or so underneath and put the rug back. Nobody's ever going to find it there. So literally like 6 months later, we're sitting in the same room, and I'm like, yo, dude, I think there's Coke underneath that car. Picked it up. Yeah, there was an 8-ball Coke. Everybody popped. I did the same thing with Guido once too. We're standing in, the hotel at 23rd in Oregon. It was a round one. I forget the names because there's so many million of them. I stuck another 8-ball when we were on our way to the airport, leaving on Sunday morning, and I stuck it in a rock bed of the plants. And then I waited till Guido got in. The next time we were at that hotel, I said, check this out, dude. He loved it.
You seem like you could handle that pretty well. I mean, I've been around people that I've seen completely go nuts on it, but you seem like you could actually wrestle and function fairly normally.
Yeah, probably like if I've had, and I ain't had that many matches, dude. You got to understand. Like the Tracy Smothers of the world and stuff have had like 5,000 matches, maybe 7,000. Dude, I haven't had 1,000 matches in my whole life. I never worked in a territory that you had to work every night, unless we were in Japan doing like a 24-30 or something like that, you know, where you're working like 24 nights out of 30, and then you go home at the end of the month. You know what I mean? But I don't have that many matches under me. But yes, guys like Van Dam would rather work with me high and drunk because I wasn't so stiff. He would always say, please get buzzed, will you? Well, when he's kicking my head off during matches. Literally. You know, Van Dam stiff. He lays it in, dude.
Yeah, he was telling us today a lot of people were intimidated by him just for the reputation, even though he would take care of the person depending on who it was.
No, he's not going to kick you and break your jaw, though. He's going to kick you on the side of your neck right here, where anybody that's going to slap you is going to slap your eardrum. They're not going to slap your jaw. They're going to slap you. If they're going to slap the piss out of you, you want it on the side of your neck so they don't pop your eardrum. Van Dam will place that kick right there.
Jack Kilby wants to know your thoughts on Joel Goodhart putting on another show for the Tri-State Wrestling Alliance in May. Have you heard about this?
Yeah, he's talked to me about it. Is he going to be on your show here? Franny's texting me right now. Let's see what it says. She's talking to me about Big Brother because she's hilarious. All right,
do you watch Big Brother?
Only because of her.
Okay.
Because we were together so much, you know what I mean? It's like a common bond between us. When the show first came out, yes, I watched it with my oldest son's mom. I think back in the day, it was like whether it was 25, 27 years ago or whatever. I watched the first couple seasons and then forgot about it. Same with the Survivor. But now I like watching it to see how stupid people are when they're getting worked by other people during the show. That's the best part. Like they don't know when they're being obviously lied to. It's great.
Did you see the season where Sid's son was in it?
No.
Okay. Did you know him at all in ECW? He recently passed away. Yeah, Big Sid. Yeah.
Who the hell was he?
He was in ECW for a while.
He was? All right, dude,
yes.
That's news to me.
He had a couple appearances. He definitely did.
Did you ask Van Dam that same thing? What did Van Dam say?
Van Dam remembered it.
He did?
Yeah.
I don't remember that at all, dude.
Because he was a big pot smoker.
Could it have been that year that I was in WCW?
Probably.
Yeah, because I don't remember. I think I would remember that.
Yeah, because Angel Medina, who we talked to on here a lot, he was chokeslammed by Sid to the outside at one point in a crazy spot. But yeah.
Oh, Angel from the Baldies?
Yeah.
Oh, give him my love.
We will. We definitely will.
Great guy.
Someone wants to know, you're mentioning Public Enemy. What are your thoughts on them passing away?
Dude, you want to hear something crazy? I don't like remember. I'm not a person that remembers a lot of dreams unless somebody kicks something in. But 2 nights ago, it was so great. I woke up. I had a dream. It was me, Johnny Grunge, and Ted Petty, who was Rocco Rock, for people that don't know. We were in a club together, and we were just sitting around bullshitting. And I just remember having this big smile on my face and how great it was to be with those guys for who knows how long a dream is. If it's 3 seconds, 3 hours, whatever. But it was so cool to wake up and feel like I just spent some time with those guys. I love those dudes, man. They were my boys.
Is there any death in particular that hit you the hardest?
Shit. Well, natural, no, because dude, it was just like so many people are in and out of your lives in pro wrestling. You know what I'm saying? It's like if it was somebody that I was lucky that it wasn't anybody that was real close to me. That drugs. It was basically alcohol and somas that was killing everybody.
Yeah, Animal was telling me his theory. Of course, he died young too, but before he passed away, he thought it was.
I was with him in Puerto Rico.
Oh yeah,
he died. He's one. Dude, he's one of like it's crazy. Like 5 or 6 people that I've been with on Friday night and have died on a Monday. I'm pretty sure he died on a Monday. Like Crash Holly, guys just die on Mondays.
He was saying a lot of the early deaths he thinks are mixing downers with uppers. Would you take downers after a
Why?
night of going hard, or
Why? That makes no sense at all. Unless you want to
yeah?
sleep. Now, if you're taking, if you're eating oxycontins because you're in pain, or you're eating them to get high, dude, if you got to sleep because you got to be up for a flight in like 8 hours and you've been up for a day and a half, you know what I mean? You might drop 8 Xanaxes to drop yourself for sleep. You know what I'm saying? But unless I wanted to sleep, I was never taking both of them at the same time.
Would you normally just ride it out, or just
Of course.
yeah?
I'd be up for days, dude. When I was a Chippendale dancer back in the day, yes, I was a Chippendale dancer, one of those dudes with the black pants, the cuffs, the bow tie and everything back in like 84, 85, dude. And then I would play rugby. I dance until like 2 a.m. and then be up to like and then be up and then be at a rugby game at 7 a.m., play the rugby game, go snort and party the rest of the night, all the way till Sunday morning. That's just how it was. A lot of wrestling weekends, it was like that. I wouldn't sleep on a lot of wrestling weekends.
I'd love to see you at one of those rugby games at 7 a.m.
Dude, dude, I was good. I was good. And I was playing with all my high school buddies. It was freaking great.
How long did the Chippendales last for?
6 months until I got fired for soliciting. No, a year and 6 months or whatever. Yeah, I got fired for soliciting, which is a long story.
Would you be with all sizes women, or did you have a cutoff for that?
The cutoff is, if you're back in them days, you got to remember this was 84. It was $100. It was $100 and you paid for the hotel room. You know what I mean? So, I mean, on some nights, if you really wanted the money so you could buy more Coke to stay up, then you're like, yeah, I'll do her.
Yeah. There was the incident they talk about in the Dark Side of the Ring where you were arrested at a party for Lou Albano. What was the connection there with Lou? Because he was a pretty crazy character. Did you know him well?
Lou who?
Captain Lou Albano.
Well, yeah, I knew his daughter better, but I love Lou from back in the late 60s, early 70s. Albano was great. So we're at his 75th birthday party. The owner of the bar, which I pissed off somehow doing something, threw a beer at me and hit me right here on the temple, the heel of the beer. The beer exploded all over. He ran into the bar. And it's one of those bars that, like, imagine it being in, like, Yonkers, New York. You're on the end of a street. So the bar's, like, really a row house. So it's long. We were out and back. So he's running through the bar, and I'm running down the streets, and I could see him. I could look through the windows. And then I don't remember this part, but Jimmy, I wish I could remember this guy's name because he was friends with the dude, and he was in the kitchen. He said, I ran after the dude in the kitchen. I was throwing around glass, like, trays of glasses and shit, and next thing I know, the cops got guns to my head. They've called in the SWAT team, actually.
So you actually went to jail for that?
Dude, I go into I'm in the ambulance. The Yonkers ambulance people robbed me. They took my pants off, took my money. I remember laying there. I'm like, seriously, you guys are going to rob me? And then they took me to the psychiatric unit, because they didn't want me to show up at the regular hospital. So they knew they could steal my money and drop me off at the psychiatric unit. That's exactly how it went.
Brutal.
And there's other people that have said the same thing from Yonkers.
So I guess you were just screwed in that case. There's nothing
you can do. It was what it was. You know what I mean? It was my fault. It was all my fault. You know, you got to live with it. Dude, when you screw up, you just live with it. And that lasted long because, let's see, I think that was Sunday, right? Monday, we go to court, and then for some unknown reason, the whole court system shuts down all the way. It was, I don't know, it wasn't Buffalo. It was one of those other towns in New York or whatever, had a power outage or whatever. So then I was done for that day. They took me back the next day, and then something happened then. So I was actually in jail in the psychiatric unit in New York till like Thursday, until my kids could pick me up.
I guess the psych unit is better than regular jail, though.
No, not for guys like me.
No.
I'd been in regular jail. I spent a couple of years of my life in jail before this little mishap. You know what I mean? I'd have much rather been around, because they keep it hot as shit in the psych unit, because that dampens them down. You know what I mean? You make it 100 degrees in there, and that keeps them like half-ass calm. So it's brutal in there.
What was the toughest part for you about being in regular jail?
Just being there, just not having your freedom.
Did they feed you okay?
The day-to-day shit is nothing. You know, as long as you're not a total moron, you know what I mean? You're going to get along. And somebody with my size or whatever, and you act a little half-ass tough, then nobody's going to screw with you.
Yeah. Someone wants to know if you ever saw Haku in action in a bar fight or anything.
No, but I wish.
Yeah.
Dude, I don't think you could hurt that guy. I think you could hit him with a bus, and the bus would just like wrap around his body like a cartoon.
Did you ever wrestle him?
Nah, I wish I would have though.
Someone wants to know about your match with Cactus Jack, where he was leaning on a table against the ropes, and
I broke my neck, and it was my
yeah.
That was my spot. I came up with it, and Cactus actually said, he goes, "You want to do this?" I'm like, "Yeah." But now, if you watch it, if tell that person to go watch it again. And the only problem that I had was when he flipped me back, when I was going upside down, I let my hands go of the table. I should have held on for like 2 more seconds, and then my feet would have came over my body, and I would have landed with my feet first, because I figured I was going to do this, land on my feet, and then my ass and hit the rail. But I let go of the table too early, and that's what made me slide down right on top of my head. Broke my neck.
Did that keep you out for a while, or what happened with that?
I was wrestling the next week. I didn't find out it was a broken neck until 3 years later in Florida when I had an MRI. Fuck. Broke my C4 in half, was wrestled right through it.
Wow. Someone wants to know any Nasty Boy stories. It sounds you seem like the type that would get along with them.
Yeah, all right, you'll love this. So I'm in WCW probably for like a month. Maybe me and Bigelow and Raven are doing our thing. They would open up the show with us and stuff. So Knobs was one of Hogan's boys at some point earlier, probably in WWA or whatever, the Nasty Boys and Hogan. So not literally his first night in the well, I was there, and then he just showed up. He just got hired. He walks up, shakes my hand. "Hey, I'm Brian. The only reason I'm here is because Terry wants me." And I was like, okay. I didn't know I was worried that he was getting put into my program. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, but your first day, like your first time you meet somebody, he knew he was going in a program with me. And he actually, the first words out of his mouth are, "The only reason I'm here is because Hogan got me this job." That's Knobs.
Yeah,
no
at least he's honest.
Whatsoever, but I loved him. Brian was great. Oh my God, but he would kill you in the ring. Oh, seriously, me and Bigelow, one time we had like a couple matches against him, and dude, he would just be like his eyes would like glaze over, and he wouldn't listen to you out there. It was very hard to call something with him because it was like he got crazy. Once the bell rang, the dude was like insane. He was beating the shit out of me so much with my own cane. I had to work him one-on-one a couple times to finally where Jimmy Hart. I went to Jimmy. I'm like, "Jimmy, he's freaking killing me with my cane." He goes, "I got you, Sand. I got you." So as soon as we would do whatever the spot was, or if the match started and I had the cane in the corner, Jimmy would grab the cane and throw it under the ring, just because he knew how Knobs was just like absolute crazy. And then one night, me and Bigelow tried to tag team him, and we still couldn't hurt the dude.
Wow.
God, Knobs was tough, dude. Straight tough, animal tough.
Did you hear about the whole thing with him and New Jack?
What thing?
Apparently they got into it, but it was after Knobs had gained a lot of weight, and I guess New Jack beat him up.
I don't remember.
He held a grudge over it, but he outlived New Jack. Louis is asking if you could tell us about the match with the Head Shrinkers.
Don't remember it.
What are your thoughts on Sabu?
Love him. Love him. He was he was probably the most easiest guy to work with. He would never hurt you, and he had so much offense that you really had to do nothing. Just sell, do a move every like couple minutes or whatever, and you're fine because he's doing the rest. It was great.
Someone wants to know if you could tell the story of when Raven thought your wife was Bobby Eaton.
I don't know what they're talking about.
They just make this stuff up. Could you? Raven actually told us the story, and I think he also mentioned it on your dark side of when you overdosed with Bill Alfonso. What could you share that story?
Yeah, he was in the car. I almost died. I shot a Oxycontin 80, and I shouldn't have. Raven told me only do a 40, only do half that, but I was like, I was snorting like 4 or 5 a day right then, so I figured I could shoot one, and yeah, almost died.
Is that the closest you've come to an overdose?
That's the only time I've come close to an overdose.
Oh, so yeah.
That was it. Yeah.
What's the most Oxycontin?
I didn't do any other. I didn't do drugs to overdose on. I wasn't doing heroin or anything. You know what I mean? You ain't overdosing on cocaine. You ain't overdosing on pot. You know what I mean? You ain't overdosing on oxys unless you're snorting. Well, sometimes if you're snorting with alcohol, you fall asleep, you throw up in your vomit.
Did you have any relationship with Hulk Hogan back when you were in WCW?
None.
What was the dressing room like in those days there?
It was crazy. It was us and them. It was like the top like 20 guys or 10 guys that you never would even see in the locker room. Like when you're in WWE, there's gonna be guys that you'll see everybody in catering and stuff like that, dude. The top of that class, like the NWO, you didn't even see those guys in the locker room. They would be in their own locker room, and Dusty would stand at the door, and Dusty didn't let anybody by.
Okay, so he was like the security.
Not really security, but I mean, Dusty, he's like a walking god. You know what I'm saying? Whatever Dusty said went.
Yeah. Did you have much interaction with him between that and his ECW time?
Well, yeah, he was the one that was going to have me win that junkyard match, but I ended up screwing up and showing up late that day, and he decided to not let me win and let Fit Finley win, and then Fit Finley win and goes and ends his career in Jacksonville the next night because he'd never done a hardcore match before, and he went through a table and he got like 100 stitches in his leg.
Yeah, I think a lot of people got injured in that match from what I remember.
Because they didn't know what they were doing. You have to have you have to have like me, Bigelow, in there orchestrating shit. Because we've done it a million times. None of those guys were used to that stuff.
How did you get along with Bigelow?
Great. Yeah. Great. We were boys.
Good matches together.
Oh, yeah, we were loving it. When I got there and I know I'm working with him the first night, I'm like, shh. You know what I'm saying? Dude, you don't know if you're going out there and doing a job for somebody a job to buff Bagwell that first night. You know what I'm saying? All you're there for is the money. You have no control of your creative at that point.
How was Bagwell and Luger backstage?
I don't know about Lex, but Bagwell was great. He was one of the boys.
Oh yeah,
he knew how to play both sides well.
I see.
But you notice he was always somebody's bag man. He was there. He was never over. When he was over the most, he was with somebody else, like Steiner or Luger or something like that.
Someone's asking, do you remember the match with Cactus Jack where you were knocked out in the match and he says you weren't selling?
Yeah, I woke up in the hospital the next day, and my ex-wife told me this because I don't remember. The guy asked me what day it was, who the president was, and something else, and I didn't know any of them. He goes, go back to sleep. I didn't get out of the hospital till like 5 the next day, but yeah, he hit me with a cast iron frying pan. I don't know. A lot of people nowadays probably don't even, unless you live in the South, maybe, but you know, you got these frying pans now that weigh like 5-6 ounces. A cast iron 8-inch frying pan weighs like 7 pounds.
Yeah, that's extremely painful. I guess he didn't know. Did he just think it was like a light frying pan when he did it?
I don't know what the hell he was thinking.
Did you guys ever, like, he complained about you at one point for wrestling drunk, which as
he complained to Todd Gordon, the idiot. He knew me and Todd were boys. Todd calls me up because Cactus just complained, said he's not going to wrestle you. He's not going to wrestle you if you're drunk before the match. I said, okay, tell Paulie me and him are working together this weekend. He calls me back. Yeah, he's like, okay, fine. So I stayed outside. Me, Missy, Bill Fonzie was probably there too, in and out. But I stayed outside before the whole match, got drunk. And back in them days, I would be the first to come to, like the champ. I would be the first to come to the ring instead of the second. So the challenger didn't have to wait in the ring 5 minutes for doing my entrance. So I was the champ that came out first. I came out, grabbed the microphone, and said, "Cactus, well, I just came in from outside, drank a case of beer. Want to wrestle?" I had him on the spot. He had to come to the ring. So I proved the point. I said, dude, you ain't pulling a power play on me, dude. I'll throw this right back at you.
Yeah. Yeah, and you were a bigger name than him in ECW at that time.
Oh, he was working on it, dude. I mean, wow. The guy, what a great talent, dude. And just that T-shirt alone that he made, Wanted Dead or Alive, that's just brilliance. And then he just kept proving his brilliance over and over and again, changing a gimmick, having 3 gimmicks during Dude Love, Sacco, man, and Cactus Jack during one match. That's just brilliance, dude. I got to hand it to him for that. The guy's intelligent. He knows this shit.
How was Steve Austin when he was backstage in his little stint in ECW?
Easy. I worked with him like 2-3 matches or whatever, but he was one of the boys.
Oh,
totally one of the boys. Dude, if you go and watch one of the spots, well, if you go back and watch the first time I think we worked, me and him do a 3 Stooges spot. We're both on our knees in the ring, and it was his idea. He goes, he goes, I'll go poke you in the eyes, you go poke me in the eyes, and I'll put my hand up like that, and your hand will go like that. He was just one of the boys.
How did you like the whole ECW invasion angle in WWE? I think you were there from the very start with the mind game sitting in the front row. Was that nerve-wracking at all, or were you confident it was going to work?
Dude, I wasn't confident of anything because the decisions weren't being all made by Paul Heyman back then. You know what I'm saying? So, no, I wasn't confident in anything. I was confident in that I was going to get paid. That was about it.
Did the fans kind of think it was shoot when you guys were in the crowd that night at that pay-per-view?
Oh, well, if you're talking about the very first one with Bradshaw.
Yeah, Mind Games, I think it was.
Yeah. I don't know. Nobody had ever done anything like that before up in the Northeast. You know what I mean? It had probably been done down south somewhere. But I can't really tell you, but I know they liked it.
What did you think of Bradshaw, anyways?
It was always cool with me.
Yeah, never messed with you or anything.
The time do you ever remember when Meanie says he beat him up?
Yeah.
Okay, during that, this is what's going on. Meanie always put me over for protecting him against Bradshaw, right? But and please go back, you people, go back and watch this because I don't have no idea what's going on with Bradshaw and Meanie, but I'm just looking around and all I see is Bradshaw's the last WWE guy because I think he had their strap back then. And you know, that lariat from hell or whatever. I just came up from behind him, grabbed around his neck, and I'm like, yo, dude, you ready to roll? He's like, yeah, thanks. And we rolled out and we rolled under the bottom rope. But Meanie always put me over as fucking standing up for him in the match.
Yeah, so you didn't even know what was going on there.
No idea.
That's funny.
He was just the last guy left, and it was time for him to go. You know what I mean? When it's time to go, it's time to go.
Yeah.
And he knew it too, and that's why he was like, thanks, dude. You know what I'm saying?
Were you already under contract by then, or was that just a one-off at that point?
I have no idea. I don't remember. I would say probably not.
Were you surprised that they wanted to start their own ECW, or with the popularity?
Shocked. Yeah, when the Dreamer first called me, he's like, yeah, Vince wants us to come work for him. I'm like, get the hell out of here, dude. He's like, no, I'm serious. I'm like, oh, okay.
Did you negotiate with Dreamer or Vince?
No, everybody was getting the same standard deal, 125, bottom, downside. I had worked it up in less than 6 months. I got Johnny Ace to give me bring it up to 150.
What was the schedule like back in those days? I know in WCW you hardly worked and you probably made more than that.
Way more, way more. But for them, I was on the road. I went on the road for like the first month, and I said Johnny Ace. I'm like, dude, and I'm like in 2008. I'm like 47, 48 years old. I'm like, Johnny, I can't go on the road anymore. And I was like shocked, like my jaw hit the ground. He goes, why? You just want to do TV? And I'm like, I could do that. He goes, yeah. I'm like, bet. TV, that's it. No house shows for me. No tours, no house shows, no nothing, just television. And I was freaking happy.
I know that you're best known for your main ECW stuff, but you had decent runs in WCW and WWE, and were probably paid better. Do you have like a favorite period of your wrestling career?
Yeah, probably like 96, 97, 98-ish, right around there.
Was it just more collecting a paycheck once you got to WWE?
Oh yeah, I hated being there. I hate it because everybody's lying. And the DCW, we had it was a family thing. There was one person that you answered to. There was no agents, no other bullshit, no head of this, no head of that. There was Paul Heyman. Paul, what am I doing? He would tell you that was it. Up there, you got all these people that just everybody's lying to you. And the one thing is like, because I had always made money outside of wrestling until I signed that contract in 2001 or 2000 with WCW when I signed for $250,000 a year. I was making like 125,000, 130,000 in my construction business back then. So I never had to make my money off of the business. And what I failed to realize up there is this is all these guys have. Every single guy I'm going to the ring with, this is the only money that they make. So they held it real close in their arms and close to their chest and lied to whoever they had to. But me, I was like, dude, I can make money outside of this business, and just don't lie to me every second of every day. There's just so many lies, you just can't take it anymore.
Who were some of the biggest like stooges behind the scenes there?
Every single one of them. Every single one. Every agent was a stooge. Every ref was a stooge. They were all over the place. Literally all over the place.
Do you remember
trying to think that? Listen, I want to get over with Vince and the shit I do in the ring, not because when I tell him that somebody else didn't wear shoes to the show that night, or didn't have a suit on when they showed up. You know what I mean? That's just ridiculous.
That's against your gimmick anyways. You would think that you would have an exception to that.
Yeah, nobody bothered me because there were certain ways to play it. You don't show, if you're going to be late, you don't show up. You don't show up with, you could be 2 hours late. It doesn't matter. As long as you don't show up with your bag in your hand. Dude, if I'm 2 hours late, I'm not walking into the building carrying my suitcase because everybody in the building will know that I'm late. You got 5-6 hours to get your suitcase. You know what I mean? So you just had to play the system right.
Good tip. Did you have any interactions directly with Vince? I know there's that one scene where he looks at you when you're drinking the beer.
Yeah, but that's an interaction. Yeah, but the only time he ever talked to me personally was I was doing something with Carlito. I think he blew an apple in my face. I blew beer in his face or something like that. And after that interview, Vince goes to me, he goes, I want you to stop yelling when you're on camera. Turn your voice down. Believe me, they'll listen. And that was basically it, one-on-one, that he ever said to me.
Are you surprised that he's not running it now and everything that's gone on with him? Because it seemed like he was going to be doing it forever.
No, I'm not. No. The shit hit once the racketeering charge hits, like, forget it. But listen to me. All right, racketeering, like, if anybody knows what the story is, him and the girl, and maybe him like sending the girl to other guys and wrestling. Well, how come every pimp that's ever been arrested hasn't been charged with racketeering? Why are they choosing one girl one time with Vince McMahon? From what we know, that's every pimp in the United States is racketeering, then, correct?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, you guys, you're damn right, but none of them get charged with it.
Right.
It's crazy. I mean, dude, I'm not saying he's wrong, right? Or I don't know the story, and nobody will ever know the story because we weren't there. I'm just saying the government's a little bit screwed up when they just do stuff like that. You know what I mean? You want to get a hit job on somebody?
So you think they're out to get him and he's going to be pretty much screwed?
Well, yeah, but he's got enough money to make it last until maybe he dies. Or maybe enough money to pay off whoever to make sure that whatever happens, you know what I'm saying?
How was Johnny Ace when you were dealing with him? Because he's involved in all
Anything I ever asked him, he told me yes. I went to the ring with Bob Holly. Oh my God, what a crowbar! And everybody knew he was a crowbar. I went right to Johnny Ace and I said, Johnny, I can't work with that guy again. He's good. And I used the term, he will break me. Never worked with him again. You know what I mean? Wanted a raise? Okay, Hack, we'll give you a raise. I asked for 200, but he upped it to 150. You know what I'm saying? And this is all in the first 6 months. You know what I mean? But another thing. Oh, the agent, Jim. I always confuse him with Jimmy, the Dragon, Steamboat. They had Steamboat as my agent. I said, Johnny, Steamboat, he's not me. He doesn't know what I do. He doesn't know my character. He doesn't know nothing. He goes, all right, I'll be your agent from now on. Johnny was great to me.
You wrestled CM Punk there, I think, at least in a
him against Matt Striker. They did a spin around that I actually hit him instead of Striker. Maybe Striker wins the match. I get roll in and I put Norm Connors over because that's where I met Punk.
Yeah, now he's one of the biggest stars in the business. What are your thoughts on him overall?
Love it. You go, kid. Take all the money you can.
Someone wants to know if you remember in Decatur, Illinois, you were coming out and there was a police officer trying to make you put your cigarette out. Was that like a common occurrence for you?
Nah. Dude, you got to remember, back in the 90s, nobody even cared if you walked into a building with a cigarette. Now you got to get it cleared. You know what I'm saying? But back then, I don't remember ever having a problem.
Did you ever have any fans attack you over the years?
Just once in Davie Arena with Cactus Jack. We were doing a spot because it was because they did a lot of whatever. The girls run around the barrels and then the guys do the bull riding and stuff like that. We climbed up on some of the rails that you see the clowns climb up to get away from the bull. We're up on one of them and the guy grabbed us. Cactus smacked the shit out of him.
Were you ever involved in any backstage fights? I never really heard of you, but I always heard that you weren't the guy to mess with.
The night that I was drunk and I was in Pensacola, Jack Victory punched me in the bathroom that night. I'm pretty sure.
But you don't even remember it.
Well, no, I remember being in the bathroom with Jack Victory. Paul was in between.
Yeah.
There was a bunch of other guys, but Jack was pissed, and I don't blame him. I was wrong.
Who did you usually ride with in the ECW days?
Well, at the time, it was me and Todd Gordon, Scorpio, and Fonzie for a couple of years, you know what I mean? And then, I don't know. See, I had the Sandman van because I had a van there was, 2 captain's chairs up front, 2 captain's chairs in the middle, and a bench in the back. So, I don't know. Nancy always traveled with us when she was in town, but I can't remember a lot of other people.
How did you get along with Missy Hyatt?
We got along fine.
Yeah.
She knew the business good. She'd been in the business for how many years at that point? She knew what it was like. So she wasn't like smart like Nancy. Like Nancy was smart, you know what I mean? But she knew what was going on.
Were you friends with Kevin Sullivan at all?
Yeah, Kevin gave best piece of advice he ever gave me. He goes, Hack. He goes, you are the kind of heel that can lose every single night for a promoter and get over more than the guy that just beat you. And that always stuck in my head. And so then, dude, everybody who's listening to this, I want you to go back and find out how many matches I actually ever won in the ECW. The only time I ever won was when I had to win the belt because somebody else, because Steve Austin was leaving, because Shane was leaving. You know what I mean? Like 3 times I got the belt because Paulie knew it was safe on me and he knew I wasn't going to any other company. But I lost all the time, and that's because Kevin Sullivan told me that you can do this, kid, and that's your spot in the business.
Yeah, your gimmick was over enough; it didn't matter.
No, I'll do a sit-up, drink a beer, and the place will go wild after you're in the back.
Yeah. How did you start that whole entrance anyways, the 5-minute entrance? Was it by accident?
One of these kids that worked for me in one of my companies, I was in the newspaper business when I first started wrestling. I was making $75,000 a year in the newspaper business in 1989. And one of the kids that worked for me there was a salesman for me. The Enter the Sandman song just came out, and I was coming out to You Want to Be a Big Shot by Billy Joel. So I heard that song once, and I was like, bam, I'm taking that song out there, and then it just all went to wherever it went. You know what I'm saying? It was organic. It all did just happen in one shot.
And I guess it sucked that you couldn't use that in WWE or WCW.
Well, yeah, because you know why? Because in 1995, when Metallica was the hottest band on the planet, they offered to WWF or WWE, whatever it was back then, to play. They wanted to play WrestleMania, and Vince said, "Who the fuck are they?" And then, boom, done. They couldn't buy the rights to my song just because of that. Hetfield would not sell them to him.
There's a fan on here saying Stone Cold is lucky he worked with you. A lot of people say Stone Cold took elements of your gimmick.
I drank beer. That was it. And he gives me credit for getting the idea from me. So I'm good.
What happened with you in TNA where they said that you were released after no-showing events? Could you tell us a story behind that?
I never no-showed him. I know that.
Okay. Was it Dreamer that had brought you in for that run?
The very, very first one, I don't think the Bubba and Devon were there for the second one when they screwed us. But the very first one, no, nobody brought me in. Jeff Jarrett, I would say, brought me in.
Are you surprised they're still in business after all these years?
No, it might have been Steve Carino.
Oh, Steve Carino.
Yeah, because Carino had his girl working there. She ended up being the nurse that she didn't like. Yeah, but I think Carino ended up getting me that job.
A long story short wants to know any stories from the Elks Lodge in Queens.
No, it's just I love the work there. That place was great. The people were like in the second level. The people like right on top. Yeah, it was just a great place to work.
Was ECW like the loudest crowd you've ever worked in front of overall? As far as energy that you're getting from the crowd?
Well, yeah, because it was so small and it was so acoustically great. You know what I mean? The cinder block walls and the steel and stuff. So, yeah.
Did you ever work Madison Square Garden?
Yeah, I did. I put over Kennedy because Mr. Kennedy was going to work with the top guy at whatever WrestleMania was.
I know you attacked Cena a couple times with your kendo stick. Did you ever actually have a match with him?
No, my kid I never had a match with him, but my son Tyler beat the hell out of him with the stick backstage. We're sitting there going over the match, and Cena's messing around with Tyler. And you got to remember, Tyler's young here. Maybe it was my other son, but either way, one of my sons totally laced the Cena like 3-4 times in the locker room. Way harder than I ever hit him, maybe the 15 times. One time, all 5 of us, I think Van Dam and Sabu did one spot, threw him on a table, and then I acted like I was caning his arm, but I never touched him with it.
So was Cena all right to you backstage as a veteran?
Oh yeah, dude, yeah, Cena was cool, and I knew his dad too, from before that for working. One of his kids, his dad brought a kid in for a dark match or something like that. So me and his dad ended up talking, and it was funny because John was just looking in the same neighborhood that I was to buy a house in Florida. So we like connected on that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, somebody's randomly mentioning here you had a condo in Clearwater at one point.
Right
Is
on the
that?
ocean.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was on the ocean and on the bay. So right after you came out of Shepherd's, right where Shepherd's is on Clearwater, going down towards St. Pete, like a half a mile. It's only 100 yards wide. The ocean's on one side and the bay's on the other side. I could look at Hogan's house across the bay or look out the ocean on the other side. And then I had another condo after I got rid of that one. And then I went to the West Coast, or I went to the East Coast, and I had a on Oakland and A1A. I had a condo on the 6th floor looking over the ocean.
Is it true for the crucifixion angle that you guys did that you actually built that crucifix yourself?
Yeah, I built it. Dude, if you look at it, it's made out of the same they're gardening 4x4s that you would make like around the gardening bed, like grandma. They were like 4x4 pieces of wood, but they weren't like squared off. But I also made the scaffold, the swinging scaffold that Dreamer threw Brian Lee off of. It's the same 4x4s that I made that out of, that I made the cross out of.
Oh wow. For that angle, are you surprised that it had that reaction? Were you
Well, the
thinking
only
that?
problem with the reaction was because Kurt Angle was in the locker room. Kurt Angle, it was his first night there. He was totally aghast as a Christian that we did that. And that was the only reason there was a problem.
Were you cool with him in later years and when you were all
Oh,
in
yeah.
WWE together?
Yeah. Dude, it is what it is. 6 months later, freaking he's in WWE or WWF, whatever it was then, and what's Stone Cold's getting hung out on a as a crucifixion by the Undertaker. I'm sure he didn't go to Vince and piss a hissy fit.
Yeah. What do you think about Paul Heyman's success over the years? Now he's had this legendary career.
Yeah. Good for you, Paul. Love it. Take their money. Good for you.
Do you see yourself getting?
Dude, yeah. I would not be on this conversation with you if it wasn't for Paul Heyman. We would not be having this conversation. I owe a lot of my career to him.
Would you do anything with AEW if they brought you in to do an angle? They're known for
I'd like to do something with Moxley, because I think I was Moxley's like one of Moxley's favorite wrestlers when he was growing up or something like that. Yeah, so I'd like to do something like that.
Yeah, they just signed a new TV deal, 170 or 150 million a year or something.
Yeah,
so
with Max. My sons were telling me that's going to turn into their Peacock.
I think so. Someone says here you're a phenomenal family man. Is that something that people would be surprised by?
Well, dude, today I spent from 7:30 this morning when the kids. I was sleeping in my son's house, Tyler. So because I get the kids every Wednesday. So I had three grandkids from 7:30 this morning. When 7:30, 8 o'clock, all three of them woke up. They're all between like 7 and 2.5. And I spent the whole day with them until 4 o'clock until my son came home. And I told you already about how I golf with my sons, hang out with my grandsons every weekend that I'm home. I get to hang out with them every single Wednesday. I get to hang out with them, play softball with my sons. Double headers with three of my sons every Sunday. You know what I mean? So family's everything.
Do people recognize you when you play softball as the Sandman?
Oh, yeah. Because softball players, because they're that kind of people. You know what I'm saying? Softball players are wrestling guys. You know what I mean? Let's drink a beer, watch some wrestling, and play some softball.
Do you have a favorite match of your career?
No. Nothing even close that stands out as a favorite.
They all just blend together.
Yeah, but I can't. No, there's not a favorite.
What about a favorite title run of your 5 ECW title runs?
Dude, I can't even remember half of them. You know what I'm saying? I think my one son said I had the belt for maybe 14 months and 5 title reigns or something like that. You know what I mean? But it's all the same. A match is a match is a match. It was a pain in the ass. I'm already carrying a cigarette, a cane, and a beer. You know what I mean? The belt was just another freaking thing to freaking carry out to the ring. It was a pain in the ass to me. Because wrestling was when I was 5 years old, I never wanted to be the champion. I just wanted to be a pro wrestler.
Right.
Yeah. And then as my career was progressing, it wasn't important to me to ever be the champion. I just want to be a wrestler.
Is the Hall of Fame important to you? I think you're going to be put in there eventually. You're one of the legends. Is that something that you care about?
No, because I never really thought that I would be there. I never aspired to that. I just aspired to be a pro wrestler.
And you definitely lived your dream. You went from the surfer to the complete opposite gimmick.
Yeah, lovely. The only reason I did the surfing thing was because Jerry Lawler. I went down to dude. I'm only in the business like 4 months. Next thing you know, I'm working on top with Jerry Lawler in the USWA main events in the Mid South Coliseum. You know,
Wow.
so yeah, but he wanted me to have more of a gimmick before he brought me down there. So I was just a Sandman with like these neon pants with an hourglass thing on the side of my pants, but he wanted something more. So I go to Gary, the Pitbulls. I needed a surfboard because I figure how can I have more of a gimmick? You know what I mean? So I get a wetsuit and I get a surfboard. So I go to Gary, one of the Pitbulls, because the Pitbulls used to literally run all the clubs down in Philadelphia. We went anywhere. We were VIPs with the Pitbulls because that's just how they did it. We walked in. Gary goes, come down to my house. It's like a Wednesday afternoon. And I got my Sandman, man. I pick him up. He goes, let's go down to Delaware Avenue. We go into this club called Rock Lobster. And Gary walks right in, tells the bouncer, he goes, you see that surfboard on the wall? Get it for me. I'm taking it out of here. 15 minutes later, I had a surfboard in my van. And this was like 2 days before I'm going down to USWA.
That's awesome. Do you have anywhere that fans can follow you if they want to look you up?
Oh, find out my podcast. Got a Sandman podcast. It's on this and that or whatever. I don't know what the hell it is. It's on Instagram. Just ECW Sandman, Real Sandman. You'll find it.
Awesome. I'll let you shut this down with whatever you want to tell the fans to close this off.
Peace. Thank you for being fans.